All right, so listen to this. We are going to dive into the world of Kim Jong-un's train.
Oh, wow.
It's not just any train.
Okay.
This thing's called the Tyanggo.
Okay.
And it's basically like a fortress on wheels, you know?
Yeah.
We learned about it from that Fern video on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
So get ready for bulletproof windows, entertainment on board.
Wow.
And security measures that would make a secret agent like blush. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine.
But here's the thing. We're not just going to like geek out over the technology of this train.
Right.
We're going to like use this train as like a lens to look at North Korea itself.
Interesting.
Think of it like as a symbol of a whole country's culture and anxieties.
Yeah, that's fascinating how an object like a train can give us like a unique perspective on a country like that.
Right.
We often talk about North Korea in terms of like politics or nuclear threats.
Right.
But this gives us a chance to explore something a little more tangible, something that reflects their worldview.
So first things first, paint us a picture of this Tyanggo.
Okay.
How does it go beyond like, you know, your average Amtrak experience?
Well, imagine a train with like reinforced walls, bulletproof windows, anti-aircraft missiles, anti-tank missiles.
Oh, wow.
You name it, it probably has it.
Oh, my God.
There's even a helicopter on board.
What?
It really speaks to the level of threat they perceive.
Wow.
And it's not just one train.
Okay.
It's like a whole system.
Wow.
So you have the Tyanggo itself.
Yeah.
A forward train that sweeps for any dangers on the tracks.
Oh, wow.
And then a rear train that is just packed with security.
So it's like a presidential motorcade?
Exactly.
But on rails?
Exactly.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
And the precautions are mind-boggling.
Okay.
I mean, they reportedly use cargo planes to position security along the route.
Wow.
They cut power at stations when the train's passing through, and they have 20 dedicated stations built just for this train.
That is so meticulous. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, with all this security, I'm picturing something like pretty bleak and utilitarian.
Right.
But the video mentioned luxury too, right?
Yes, the interior is actually quite lavish.
Really?
It's got offices, meeting rooms, reception areas, a restaurant serving international cuisine.
Wow.
And the design choices are, well, interesting to say the least.
Oh, do tell. I gotta hear about this.
Okay, so think white rooms, wooden floors, a mix of like bold and contrasting colors.
Okay.
Flower-shaped lamps, zebra-patterned seats.
Uh-huh. What?
Yeah.
So like a bit of whimsy mixed in with the high security vibe?
Exactly.
Wow, that's not what I was expecting.
It's very interesting.
And there's like onboard entertainment too, right?
There are singers who provide entertainment for Kim Jong-un.
Oh, wow.
It all plays into this carefully crafted image of power and opulence surrounding the Kim dynasty.
It's almost like they're saying we might be isolated, but we're isolated in style.
Exactly.
And this love for trains isn't new to Kim Jong-un, is it?
No.
His father, Kim Jong-il, was like famous for his train journeys.
Right. He reportedly had a fear of flying, so the train became his preferred mode of transport.
Yeah.
There was even this famous trip to Moscow in 2001, which took almost a month and covered over 20,000 kilometers.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and a Russian official who was actually on that trip with him wrote a book about it.
Really?
Which kind of annoyed both the Russian and North Korean governments.
I bet that book is full of juicy details. I'd love to read that.
Me too.
But unfortunately, train travel isn't always smooth sailing, even for a supreme leader.
Yeah.
The video mentioned a pretty serious incident back in 2004.
Yes, there was a massive explosion near the Ryongchon station, close to the Chinese border. It killed over 160 people and injured over 1,000.
Oh my gosh.
There's been speculation that it was maybe an assassination attempt, but the details are still pretty murky.
It's like a stark reminder of the constant threat perception within the regime.
Absolutely.
Even with all those security measures.
Right.
And speaking of perceptions, it's interesting how this train, the Tyanggo, is kind of a paradox.
How so?
Well, on the one hand, it screams power, right? It's this imposing, impenetrable fortress on wheels.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it also represents North Korea's isolation.
Yeah.
They're choosing to travel by train, a mode of transport that, while luxurious in this case, feels very contained.
That's a very astute observation.
Thanks.
It really makes you think about how different countries choose to project power.
Right.
I mean, compare this to Air Force One.
Yeah.
It's a completely different vibe.
Totally. Air Force One says, we can go anywhere, anytime.
Right.
The Tyanggo says, we'll come to you. but on our own terms, and you better be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But you know what else is fascinating?
What's that?
This whole trend of iron diplomacy.
Oh, absolutely. This idea of leaders choosing trains to make a statement.
Yeah.
It seems to be gaining traction, especially after the war in Ukraine began.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of Western leaders traveling by train to Kyiv as a show of solidarity.
Right. It's like a throwback to a different era of diplomacy.
Yeah.
Maybe less flashy.
Right.
But definitely impactful.
Yeah.
And speaking of impact, let's talk about Kim Jong-un's meeting with Putin on the Tyanggo.
Okay.
That was a pretty big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal, especially considering like the timing.
Right.
You know, with the war in Ukraine still going on and Russia facing like increasing international pressure.
Right. Putin's kind of in a bind, isn't he?
Yeah.
He needs allies, he needs weapons, and North Korea has both.
Right.
They've got tons of like Soviet-era weaponry just sitting around.
Precisely. And for North Korea, this alliance with Russia could offer them a way to kind of break out of their isolation a little bit.
Right.
It's a chance to be seen as like a key player on the world stage.
Right.
You know, leverage their resources for political and economic gain.
But it's a risky game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, cozying up to Russia could alienate them further from the West, potentially leading to even more sanctions?
Absolutely. It's a calculated risk on both sides.
Right.
The video did mention some lighter moments, too.
Okay.
Putin gave Kim Jong-un a tour of the Vostochny Cosmodrome. It's a spaceport in eastern Russia.
Okay.
There was also a visit to an aircraft factory and a glimpse of the Pacific Fleet.
So a bit of a show and tell.
Yeah, it seems so. And there was entertainment, too.
Okay.
Vodka, a ballet performance, even a walrus show.
Wait, a walrus show?
Yeah, it seems like they really tried to make Kim Jong-un feel welcome.
I guess when you're forging a strategic alliance, you got to pull out all the stops,
even
the aquatic mammals. But all kidding aside, this meeting and the broader relationship between Russia and North Korea has some serious implications.
You're absolutely right. The U.S. government has already claimed that North Korea has delivered over 1,000 containers of ammunition and military equipment to Russia.
Wow.
And there's concern that Russia might provide technical support to North Korea in return.
Right.
Helping them develop even more advanced weapons.
That's a worrying thought.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of Lavrov's visit to Pyongyang.
Right.
He was there recently expressing gratitude for North Korea's support in the Ukraine conflict. And they even officially recognized the territories that Russia has captured.
That's a significant shift.
Yeah.
North Korea has traditionally been pretty cautious about aligning too closely with any one nation. But this move kind of suggests a growing sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Maybe even a willingness to challenge the existing world order.
What does this train actually tell us about North Korea's place in the world? Is it all about projecting power?
Okay.
Or is there something more to it?
I think it's a combination of factors. Yes, there's definitely that element of power projection. You know, the need to showcase their strength and their capabilities to the world.
Right.
But I also think there's this deep-seated sense of isolation.
Okay.
A feeling of being misunderstood.
Yeah.
Of being judged unfairly by the rest of the world.
It's almost like they're saying, we have to do things our way.
Yeah.
Even if it means being different, even if it means being alone.
And the Tyanggo becomes a symbol of that.
Right.
It's their way of connecting with the world, but on their own terms, within the confines of this heavily armored, self-contained world. And remember, this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The world is a complex and fascinating place, and there's always more to learn, more perspectives to consider, and more connections to be made.
This has been The Deep Dive, and we've had a blast exploring the world of Kim Jong-un's traveling fortress, the Tyanggo.
Until next time, keep those brain gears turning.